City Council meeting on March 5th has come to order. Can we please stand up for Pledge of Allegiance? And Mr. Kang, could you lead us in Pledge of Allegiance? Please remain seated. I'm sorry, please remain standing. Mayor Pro Tem.
And this is a moment of silence for the officers that have given the ultimate sacrifice since our last meeting, and our military and first responders overall. You are joining me. Thank you.
Please be seated. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Baptista. Present. Councilmember Aguilar.
Present.
Councilmember Kane.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia.
Present.
Mayor Samra.
Present.
For the record, all council members, Mayor Pro Tem and Mayor in attendance here today.
Okay, closed session announcements. There is no reportable action. Direction was given to staff. Just so you know, due to heavy load on our closed session items, we'll be calling on a little bit later here on a special meeting just to deal with labor negotiations. So we'll have a closed session, and we will make that announcement. And at this time, change to the agenda, council. Anybody? Okay, I believe that we were gonna table the item number 10. Is that correct still, or is it no longer correct?
That's correct.
We are going to table that? Thank you, okay. Item number 10's tabled. And any other changes to the agenda at this time, council? If not, I'm sorry? Did somebody say something? Oh, no, okay. All right, then,
Number 10.
No, but item number 8, they asked if they could.
okay, we have a request made to move the item number 8 before the item 5. Do I have a general consensus on that? Yes. Okay, we'll move item number 8 to the beginning of 5 after the consent calendar, okay? With that, we will go to announcements and reports. At this time, I would like to welcome Diane Westmoreland Pedroso. She is a representative for our elected official. I won't name who, I will let her surprise us. So please.
Thank you, Mayor Gurpal. As he said, my name's Diana Westmoreland Pedroso, and I am representing Senator Ana Caballero. We are located in Merced at 1640 N Street, Suite 210 currently, and the phone number to reach us is 209-726-5495. I'm familiar with Livingston. I'm very proud to be a Valley girl, though I appreciate your moment of silence to all of our military and first responders that keep us safe. I am a Navy brat, heavy on the brat. So appreciate that moment and that recognition for all those that do that for us. I am one of 3 field reps for the senator. My colleague Jennifer Hidalgo and Elisa Rivera will be working out of the Merced office as well. We are interested in collaboration with the City of Livingston, so please let us know how we can help you. And if any of your citizens need help dealing with any state issues, that's what we're here for. So appreciate the time to introduce myself. Please stay safe, be good. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Espinoza.
Thank you very much. Good evening, council and mayor. I'd like just to report out that a couple weeks ago, 2 weekends ago, I attended the Latino Caucus of California Counties, and we had a retreat in which is the county supervisors. We had a retreat in Napa, and one of our focuses for the Latino Caucus is to emphasizing the importance of getting everyone counted for the 2020 census. So we'll be pushing that hard, just as well as all the counties in California, and a lot of communities are pushing the census to make sure that everybody is counted, and because otherwise, for every resident, you might lose at least $20,000 a year in funds for the community and for our county. So it's very important that we get everybody counted, especially here in Livingston, since we have a lot of undocumented and a lot of people from Oaxaca, ethnic groups that reside in this community, to make sure that and also one thing that I emphasize is that if we have to get our community electeds like you guys and myself to help out the census groups that are counting, please call us. I'll be glad to do as much volunteering and walking to make sure that because it's always fearful for undocumented to not to answer the door, or not wanting to be counted. But if they're not counted, we all lose that money, those funds that will be providing the services back to them. So it's very important that each individual in California is counted. Also, that was 2 weeks ago, and this weekend I attended the WELOS, Water Education for Latino Leaders in Southern California. We were at the Coachella Valley. We did a tour of the Salton Sea, and which is the biggest lake in California. And the lake is very the salinity is twice as much as the ocean. So they're trying to figure out how to get more water into it. Of course, no more drinkable water is going in there, so it's becoming more saline. So they're trying to figure out different ways, because when the water recedes, it leaves a lot of dust from the sand, from the salt, and that creates, with the wind, it creates a lot of health issues, asthma around that community and around those neighborhoods. I saw, one of the council members that, actually the mayor of Huron is on there, and I think he's working with an organization, also there's a possibility of getting a grant so that we can have a electric vehicles charging station here. I know there's some parking spaces next to CVS, so hopefully, if we can get some of those grants, we can talk to a CVS and allow us to put some type of charging stations for vehicles, and that way they stop in our community and they can always provide more sales, and it's a stop, so they'll provide more sales tax in our community. The last one I got is regarding Livingston. I know that I wanted to address that because the mayor he lives across the street regarding the 2 lots on Arcadian Park. I just wanted to emphasize to the council of the importance to buy those lots. I don't know if Jose, you've discussed it with the council about purchasing those lots. I know that the developers buying those. Building. Pulled more permits. I saw that they started building more homes. So, but the 2 lots next to the park is very important for our community to have more parking, because in the summer it's all busy. So, and the mayor might have to, since he lives across the street. So, I just want to stress that. Now, with that, that's all for me right now. And if anybody has any questions from the public or the council, be glad to answer any questions.
Does anybody have questions for Supervisor Espinoza?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, going on to staff announcements and reports, and this time we'll start out with public works, please. Nothing? Engineering? Recreation, she's smiling and getting up. Since we got 2 firefighters in there, we have 2 reports maybe.
Thought he was going to race me to the podium. Good evening, everyone. I just have a few quick announcements. Basketball is done, and we're now starting baseball. We have our skills assessment for all children, 7 to 15, this Saturday, and it's really, we have such a great relationship with the high school varsity and JV teams. The coaches are going to be running our assessments for both softball and baseball. Also, if you'll mark your calendar, March 16th, we'll be having the park dedication for Sergeant Benito Aguilar, and of course, you all are invited to attend. The ceremony begins at 11 a.m., and the address next to the park is 911 F Street. We'd love to have you guys and the community join with us. Jose, did you want to cover about the surveys, or? Okay. So we have been working, collecting surveys for the Prop 68 grant. We've been collecting every time there's a gathering of people, somebody from either the Rec Commission or my office are out collecting surveys. We do have some in the back, so if you have neighbors or family that would like to complete them, this is for a recreation project on D Street. And we're also going to be having community involvement at meetings. And at the paper in the back, it has all of the dates and times. March 14th, which is, of course, next week, we are going to be having a meeting here. It's from 6 to 8. There is childcare available, as well as food will be served. Also, your kids at school this week are going to be asked to participate in surveys, and I brought you guys all. We're going to be giving the kids a bracelet that says Livingston, my hometown on it.
Cool.
And so it's exciting to have these. Uh-oh, sorry.
This is cool. You should pass them out to the audience if you have enough.
Huh?
You should pass them out to the audience if you got enough.
Yes,
Okay,
so
do me
when they bring them back,
see those young ladies right there in the corner? Give some to those young ladies right there, please.
these two young ladies.
Yes, to those young ladies right there. There are Starbucks partners.
One of the projects that the school district and our rec commission is working on, do you want to talk about that? Okay, I just don't want to have to talk about everything if you guys want. So we're going to be having Livingston's very first color run. It is a 5K run. It is on May the 11th, and you'll be hearing more about that, but we're pretty excited about it. The school's kids are going to be participating, as well as the community. And then some other good news is the Rec Commission raised $1,300 to help buy shade for the bleachers at Little Guys. So we're really
Yay.
proud of them. And that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for?
I have a question.
Okay.
The color run, where is that going to be held at?
It'll start at LMS, and then it'll go to Joseph Gallo, up through Arcalian, over to Memorial, and then turn around and come back, and then wind up at LMS.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Okay, I think fire department's already standing up, so fire department? Oh, what's wrong with that projector? Check the video cable. It might be loose. There you go. No charge for that IT support.
Does this work? Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, citizens of Livingston. My name is Baraka Carter, Battalion Chief for Livingston City, here with our annual emergency activity report for the month of February. So in the city of Livingston, we ran a total of 68 medical aids, 7 vehicle fires, vehicle accidents, 2 vehicle fires, 2 alarm soundings, 1 false alarm, 3 public assists. In the county areas, we ran 17 medical aids, 11 vegetation fires, 11 vehicle fires, vehicle accidents, 1 vehicle fire, 3 structure fires, 4 debris fires, 5 alarm soundings, 1 false alarm. The summary for 2019 up to date, we're at a total of 259 calls. That's down 4% from February 2018. The total of calls for the city this month was 173, or for the year is 173, which is down 1% from February 28, 2018. And incidents, that was up 1%, I'm sorry. And then incidents within the county areas was 86. That's down 13% from 2018. Total PCF response to the incidents, we had 68%, which remains to be the highest in countywide. We had 9% for coverage. And what the coverage is, when the station responds out to an incident, then we'll have PCFs that will come in behind to cover the additional staffing or the additional equipment to ensure that we have staffing within the city. Total calls within the initial response area is 230 calls. This month's training, we had the paid staff did PG&E, so they come out annually. They'll talk about the different gas lines and then any type of electrical emergencies. We'll go over those for the paid personnel. And then the volunteers did auto extrication. We're anticipating on getting these new auto extrications for the city. It'll be housed on the county equipment. They're called e-tools. So instead of going to currently we have the electronic hydraulic tools, which takes, and the electronic tools are more eco-friendly. They'll run off a battery operated, and there's more mobile and a lot lighter for the personnel to be utilizing. This is just some of the pictures that they were using out at the auto extrication. So as you can see, the tool, you don't have the hose or the clumsy hose that gets in the way, so it's very maneuverable. And it allows the personnel to gain access to tight areas. So those should be in service within the next few weeks. We also did the dedication to Mr. Vance Memorial. It's on display out in front of the station. This was probably about a year and a half in the making, so I was appreciative of the city support, and the family was very appreciative as well. We're in the midst of school inspections. I believe we have a total of 11 schools that we're currently inspecting within the city and the county areas within Livingston's initial response area. There's a new bill that's been passed through the state Senate. It's the Senate Bill 1205, which mandates us to do not just school inspections, but any type of high occupancy inspection. So you'll see all the hotels, motels, and I believe it's going to be our like churches. So there's a new process that we're trying to formulate with the county. We'll be talking to the city manager and making sure that we're all on the same page before we go through the process of doing those inspections. And then for our fire prevention reminders, just want to make sure that all the citizens ensure that they have a fire escape plan in place. Make sure that that plan has been communicated with your family members. And what this does is allows any type of, there's an emergency within the incident or within your home, it allows the family members to have a pre-designated meeting place so that everybody understands where they need to meet up and everybody can be accounted for to ensure that you have a safety of your family and loved ones. Additionally, with the spring forward we're coming up with this week, we want to make sure that the residents and the community understand that now would be the time to change out your batteries for your smoke detectors as well as your carbon monoxide detectors. In the report, any questions?
Public, any questions for the chief, fire chief? If not, council?
I have a question real quick. Any updates regarding the Type 6?
Yes. So I believe that we should be receiving, any day we should be getting invoiced for it. The Type 6 is being striped as we speak, and I believe it's going to be on display at the firehouse exposition down in LA. I think that's going to be at the end of this month. So we're about, I would say anywhere from 8 to 12 months ahead of schedule than we were anticipating on receiving the Type 6. So I would say within the next month, we should have it here and ready in service.
Can you just give a quick explanation of what Type 6 is, just for the public?
Okay, so a Type 6 engine, it's, so the normal engines that we see at the stations, they're typically your Type 1s, Type 2s. It's a larger piece of equipment. It houses or it carries a larger amount of water, 700 to 1,000 gallons, 750 to 1,000 gallons. So those are your larger type engines. A Type 6 is more of a smaller, compact type of vehicle, and it's very maneuverable. Can get into tight spaces like our alleyways where we have like debris fires. It can maneuver off-road because we have some areas within the city that are undeveloped, so we'll start getting like vegetation fires. When we expose the larger vehicles to those type of environments, we create a lot of damage and tend to place those resources out of service because of inaccessibility. The Type 6 will allow us to maneuver to those areas. We'll get some electronic extrication tools on there so we can run vehicle accidents as well as medical supplies so that we can run medical aids. And then it carries 350 gallons plus of water plus 20 gallons of foam. So it's very versatile. The good thing about it, for our larger types of equipment, it takes a specialized piece of license to operate it. The Type 6, the PCFs can operate it as long as they have a Class C driver's license and a defensive driver. So it gives them the ability to respond it, and it's very, like I said, very versatile. Welcome. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Grant, Finance? Okay, Chief? Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor, and members of council, members of the public. And she's probably not going to like this, but I want to give a big shout out to Julie Sickinger before I start. She's a Livingston Police Foundation treasurer, and she does a lot of work for our foundation. So I just want to thank you and appreciate the work you do. So, real quickly, a tour bus parking zone. City manager and myself came up with this plan to try to encourage more tour buses to stop in Livingston. We're talking to the manager at McDonald's, and she remembers a time when there was lots of them, and they've kind of dwindled a little bit. But we're putting a plan together. We're painting the curbs green and putting some signs out. In the process of sending out 65 letters to all tour bus companies in California, invited them. And there's actually a few restaurants that said they would give the tour bus operator a free meal. So there's a little benefit for that. So anyways, it was a good story that came out on Channel 30. We did a press release, and I want to thank the city manager for putting that plan together, and hopefully we'll see some more tour buses in Livingston. Last week, Livingston Middle School had a career and college day, and we hosted a table not only for our police department. We have Captain Soria and Officer Vieira there, but I represented San Jose State University, my alma mater, and passed out a few literature. And there was a lot of other schools represented, the big one, Fresno State. So it was well received by the students, who actually were able to get, I guess you'd call it a passport, and get stamps, and then they were eligible for prizes. So, and Councilmember Garcia was there as well with your child as well, right? That was were you visiting as a resident? So, but he was there. Captain Soria and I got invited to college, Merced College, to lecture at a specific administrative justice class. We spent a whole class there, and then we were able to recruit a few folks that want to apply for volunteers. You know, we can never do without enough volunteers. We got a great staff now, but the more we get, the more work that we can allow our volunteers to do. So, and it was a great time. Had about 30 students in there, and had a lot of good questions. And hopefully, at some point, we can recruit some for our department. About a week and a half ago, our department participated in the Polar Plunge at Lake Tulloch. I want to thank Corporal Kirk for putting this together as our team captain. And we had 6 members from the department sign up to help raise funds for special athletes to participate. Real quickly, Sergeant Fong, Corporals Kirk and Villarreal, Officers Godfrey and Vieira, and myself all participated in that. And basically, you sign up through the Special Olympics of Northern California, and you jump in the lake and you raise funds, and we raised about $1,500 that goes directly to the special athletes. So I want to thank them for their participation, and if anybody wants to join next year, we'll do that again. As Jackie talked about, the Recreation Center grant survey, something that's required for the grant, and some of our Livingston Explorers are helping pass those out. And so you will see them for our residents. You will see them walking around different neighborhoods, going door to door. The idea is try to get them to have the survey filled out while they're there versus dropping it off and trying to pick it up. So we've got a bunch of kids doing that. They'll be doing that as time allows. Career Day at Campus Park, Corporal Villarreal and Officer Becerra went out there and did a little presentation for their career at some of the classrooms. I mentioned this because we're about our second year into a strategic plan. Some of the things that we do at the department is we provide a map, a roadmap for our department to head into keeping our community safe, solving crime, being very proactive, and it's basically a roadmap for them to basically work upon. The 5 objectives we have: suppress incident of gang violence, reduce the incident of property crimes, increase the enforcement of narcotic violations, increase opportunity for personnel to attend high-quality training, and increase public relations and involvement. So I want to thank our staff. I think over the last year, and I mentioned this at one of the earlier council meetings, some of the statistics that we showed, and I think the department is doing real well, and I appreciate all the work that the officers and the non-sworn staff commit themselves to. I also touched on this at the last swear-in, but I want to kind of give you a little more summary. There's about 480 cities in California that are less than 10,000 residents, and so they compile all the UCR Property 1, Property 2 crimes, compile them by the residents and population, and we came out 50, which I think is outstanding, especially for Merced County. And then you look at the other. I put a couple up there. You have the top 5, but then you also have some other ones that are in our region. So again, I'm very proud of the work that our officers and dispatchers do to keep our community safe. And if you haven't picked up the latest museum newsletter, it just came out this week. I authored an article about Captain Soria. He's been policing Livingston for 36 years, and he does a fabulous job, and he's kind of like our department historian. So it's at the museum if you get a chance. I'm a lifetime member of the museum. I love history, and so if you get a chance, I'd encourage you to take a look at that and learn something about our town, but also learn something about Captain Soria. Our Dispatcher and Officer of the Year banquets and luncheons, the dates are up there: April 18th for the dispatcher and April 24th for the officer banquet. Public's invited, and encouraged to attend. And we've got our recipients, which will receive theirs at those events. And lastly, we do have a resource for those that want to dispose of unwanted and expired medication. However, we will participate again in the National Drug Take Back Day, April 27th from 10 to 2 in our lobby. So I encourage anybody that has those type of medications to come to our department at that time, or if you can't make those times, we do have a bin in our lobby, a receptacle that they can deposit it. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Public, any questions of Chief? Council, any questions of Chief? Thank you, Chief.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, did I leave anybody out from? No? Legal? Any? Okay, Mr. Ramirez? Nothing? Wow, okay. Oh, okay, that's what's in, Mr. Ramirez.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and Council and esteemed residents of the city of Livingston. There's a few things that I just wanted to piggyback because I had it on my comment list as well as the supervisor about the importance of the census. We certainly want to work with the Latino Caucus and the county and any other nonprofit organization out there, because the census, more than anything, is so important, especially going around, this time around, given some of the challenges that we have at this federal level. So we just wanted to reiterate that. The other thing is, with regards to, I just wanted to, mention it to my staff and mention it to the public and our business community out there, that you can help the city whenever you see anybody, whether that they're doing any type of business inside the city limits, that you ask them, or if you don't feel comfortable asking them whether they have a business license or not, feel free to call City Hall during our normal business hours, and you can ask to see if that business has a business license, because all those funds are your funds, and it helps to address a lot of the needs that we have in our community. And what I've noticed since 2011 is that even businesses that have paid the year before, they don't do automatic payments, and so we're missing out on some funds, and all of that is important. Whether it's $100 or more, it helps out. So I encourage you all to communicate that out as you can.
Yeah, on that, there was a company going door to door selling stuff, and they're required to have a license. They made the unfortunate instead of knocking on my door. So I asked them, I said, can I see your business license? They said, oh, we have it. Where did you get it? From Merced County? No. Then I gave my business card, and I think that was the end of the conversation. So they do, just be careful when they come out door to door, unless they've been screened or licensed, don't fall for anything with them.
That's right. Thank you very much, Mayor. And then I also wanted to let you know, I mentioned it at when we were doing our economic development action plan here about electric planes and the new technologies associated with that. It's really picking up a lot of steam, for lack of a better term. And we're going to be having a meeting at Foster Farms on the 22nd of March at 7:30 a.m. Again, we presented this new information to Foster Farms. They're very, very excited and open, and that's why we're continuing this. We also had a meeting with the county economic development team and Mr. McDaniel. He happened to be there. And so I think there's a great opportunity for everybody, because now the small airports are going to be able, just think about the Jetsons. It's here, okay, literally. They're going to be able to, they're going to be like air taxis, picking up people, taking them to the regional airports, and then the regional airports then taking folks to the international airports. So it's a great thing, and the Valley is well positioned to advance this very quickly. So again, if you're interested, you're welcome to attend March 22nd at 7:30 a.m. That is, Foster Farms. And then our mayor asked for, as you know, there's been a lot of activity happening with PG&E and a lot of questions associated with that. So we've asked through the mayor to have PG&E representatives come here and give us updates at our council meetings. Also, we have our Measure V 5-year project list. So if anybody's interested in seeing that list, we have that list. And again, it's to address transportation needs here in our community. And then I also wanted to invite everybody, there's going to be a ribbon cutting ceremony March 8th at 3 p.m., and that's for the Livingston Community Health. The city had a lot to do with that project and where it's at today, and so you guys should all be proud, and hopefully you guys can join us out there on March 8th, which is this Friday at 3 p.m. And that is it, unless you have any questions for me.
Public, any questions for city manager? Council? If not, then we'll go on to some council members' announcements and reports, and I'll start out with Councilwoman Baptista. Councilmember Aguilar.
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Kang.
Nothing to report.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I just want to say congratulations to the Merced County Special Olympics basketball team. They actually went to Fresno and took first place and got gold out there, which is my son's actually part of that also. So.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Okay, for me, like I mentioned earlier, and I'm not sure where to put it, just to before people leave, is I'd like to ask the council at this time for a special meeting for the closed session. When do we have time, this week, or I'd like to do it this week if possible. If not, can we come up to a consensus on the date so the public's notice of it? Does anybody, because it's Tuesday, so have to be, special meeting can be noticed in what, 24 hours, but, so we can do it Thursday or Friday, so we have 2 days.
Say Thursday, but
Thursday?
Thursday works.
Now, can we agree on the time? How late? Midnight? No. Okay, you said late, so a particular time? I know you have a busy schedule. Huh? Can we make it 4:30? So
I would need to be later than
Yeah, can we make it 5?
6,
5?
6, 7. I'm just kidding.
Well,
6.
come on now, okay.
6.
Can we agree
6
on
o'clock?
5? Or 6? What do you say?
5's fine.
well, you get off at 5.
Okay, then 6 o'clock it is, then. 5:30. 5:30, okay? Yeah, it's like 5:30, it's like an auction. So let's let everybody know this Thursday, coming Thursday at 5:30, we will have a special meeting, and we will only be covering closed session item. There will be not anything general and to do, okay? So if you can note that, and please post the meeting tomorrow. Thank you. And other than that, I have no other announcements or reports. And at this time, we'll go into citizens' comments. This section of the agenda allows the members of the public to address the city council on any item not otherwise on the agenda. The members of the public, when recognized by the mayor, should come forward to the lectern and identify themselves. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes in accordance with the state open meeting law. No action will be taken by the city council this evening. For items which are on the agenda, this evening, members of the public will be provided an opportunity to address the city council as each item's brought up. Now, this is just a citizen comment portion, so does anybody wish to come forward? Please state your name and address for the record. Since no one's moving forward, the citizen comment is now closed. We'll go on to consent agenda. Items on the consent calendar are considered routine and non-controversial, will be enacted by one vote unless a separate action is requested by the city manager or city council member. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the city council or city manager requests that a specific item be removed. Does anybody wish to remove any items for discussion? If not, the 4 items is the approval of the minutes of the meeting held on January 15, 2019, approval of the minutes of meeting held on February 5, 2019, or approval of the warrant register dated February 27, 2019, resolution increasing the budget to appropriate $54,231.58 of the Home Program Income Fund, unappropriated fund balance for fiscal year 2018-2019. Does anybody wish to make the motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor. Do I have a second? Does anybody wish to make a motion?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a second by Councilmember Aguilar. All in favor? No, we have a resolution, so may I have roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Baptista? Yes. Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember Kane?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Samra?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, moving on to discussion and potential action items. This is the item, resolution approving the sale of property located at 2949 Tiama Drive. I believe, Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to make an announcement at this time?
Yes. For this item, I will not be participating. I do not have a financial interest in the property or the house being sold. However, I realize that the property is close to my residence, and out of abundance of caution and to avoid perception issues, I will not be participating in it.
Okay, please make the note that the Vice Mayor has left the dais. Okay, this is the resolution approving the solar property located at 2949 Tiama Drive, and I got City Manager's name on it, Mr. Ramirez.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council, by the way, the family who actually is interested in the property is here this evening, and I'm sure they want to say a few words. But in terms of a little bit of background, this particular home was purchased during the time frame when housing prices were pretty high, and there was a recruitment element for the city manager at the time. There was when the city manager left, the council actually bought the home back, and since then it's actually been leased. There's been local residents living in the home. The home has been leased anywhere between $1,000 to $1,100 a month. There has been a few little improvements done to the home. So we calculate that, before that, then we actually had an appraisal done on the property, and the appraisal of the property came in at $260,000. We actually negotiated with the existing family that's here, the Pimentels here, and so we agreed at a price of $272,000. Of course, we're also sharing in the closing costs, and if we decide to keep the home, we would look at having to make some improvements on the home in the very near future, whether it's the roof, whether it's some other element. So in order for us to try to recoup that, the cost of the home when it was initially purchased, it would take a lot more years, and I don't see the market in the next 10 years shifting to that degree. And so, given the analysis that we did, at this point, we wouldn't make any more money, but we wouldn't be losing any money. It would pretty much be a wash. And what we would be doing is having helping a local family with the first-time home buyer program that they currently are eligible for, and the funding we can look at using for another purchase of property or whatever the council decides that their prerogative as far as it's general fund money. So with that, if you have any other questions, please ask. Otherwise, we do have the family here that might want to say a few words.
Okay, this item is now open to the public. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and please leave it to 3 minutes, please. That's our public comment time.
Hello, my name is Jesus Mendoza, and I'm the realtor of the family, and I'm located at 2830 G Street in Merced. And during this process, I just kind of want to share the importance to them. They want to be here just to share and let you guys know that this place, Livingston, is just the place they want to be. Getting to know them and finding out what they really want. There was nothing like this house in Tehama. They love the layout. They love the square footage, the lot, the neighborhood. It was perfect. And now that they're engaged, they want to start their family. They want to be able to grow here in Livingston. Right here, Oscar, the fiance, he's already working here locally. He works at Gallo, and he attends church here in Livingston. So he's already involved with the community. They already invested a few $1,000s in the process of getting where they're at right now, in inspection and earnest money deposits, and it would be taking quite a bit of a loss if this process doesn't go through. And they're also already committed to the process of the sale, that they already stated that they gave their notice that they're going to be able to move out to their home. So they'll be having some hardship in being able to, if this doesn't go through. And but they really, really want to get involved here. They want to live here, and this is their dream home. And I'm hoping them being here kind of shows you guys that they're really fighting for this home, and hopefully it'll help your decision in making this deal go through.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the audience, from the public?
So hello, my name is Oscar Lopez. I'm from Spring Street in Homar. Like Jesse said, I work at Gallo, and I'm already involved a lot in the community for Livingston. We're newly engaged, and so we were out in the market for a house, and we saw this property in Livingston, and we really fell in love with. Basically, we this property meant so much to us that, you know, we wanted to, Jesse informed us of the council meeting, and we thought that our presence would make a difference or influence you guys' decision.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Anna Pimentel. I'm located in Delhi, California. And like he said, we definitely wanted to stay local, and Livingston was something we were looking at because we do have friends and family that are already here. So we know that it's a really good community. We know the school systems very well. So this is where we want to build our roots, start our family, and be able to move forward with this zone.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public? If not, then this item is now closed to the public. Council discussion? If there's no discussion, then I'll entertain a motion.
I just want to say a couple of comments.
Oh,
before
please,
that.
please, I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
appreciate you guys being present here to here in the meeting and advocate for yourselves. So congratulations regarding your engagement. I just wanted to discuss, or at least point out, or talk about that it's important that if we're selling this house, the funds be used towards, for example, projects such as the fire station. I know it's a general fund monies, but I would really appreciate if that money's used towards either the purchase of land or a new station, or if we're looking at the property to renovate the property or change the property into a fire station, that money's used towards that.
Okay. Any other comments? Mr. Kang? I think you're absolutely correct. One of the highest, well, actually not the highest, but one of the highest priorities is a new fire station outside of recreation, and we know how impacted our recreation programs are, but public safety is second to none, be it police or fire. That's when something happens, you want to see that red truck roll behind you, and heavens forbid, if you need to have the black and white and the red truck come behind you. You need them both. So we need to be able to support both, and so I fully agree with Councilmember Aguilar. So I think we need to move those funds towards improvements there. So with that, I will entertain a motion. Does anybody like to make a motion?
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Councilmember Aguilar. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilmember Baptista. May I have roll call, please?
Councilmember Baptista?
Yes.
Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember Kang?
Yes.
Mayor Sarma?
Yes.
Motion approved.
And would you please call in the Vice Mayor?
So I made arrangements, so tomorrow, after this vote, we'll make arrangements with the notary and have all the paperwork signed for you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, let the record reflect that Vice Mayor is back at 8:01. And then now moving on to item number 4. This is the resolution to accept the public improvements for the County Villas Number 4 subdivision and authorize the city manager to de-obligate the improvement securities committed for said improvements. Noe? I'm sorry, Mr. Martinez, I'm sorry.
It's all right. Good evening, Mayor
Yeah.
and rest of the council members. This is my name is Noe Martinez from the City Engineer's Office, and to present here the item, it's a resolution accepting the public improvements for the Country Village Number 4. And like the Mayor said, for the city manager to be authorized to de-obligate the improvement securities that were posted for this project at that time. To give you a quick background, we have been working with the city attorney's office in terms of handling the agreements and the bonds that were posted for this project, and I'm not sure if city attorney would like to say a couple of things in terms of the legal matters.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of your projects that come forward, and as part of the project, there are certain requirements, certain public improvements that need to be completed by the project. For this one, as the staff report indicates, in 2006, the city council approved a final subdivision map and also its subdivision improvement agreement. The agreement has specific conditions that need to be met, specific requirements that need to be built, and they also because they have to build things, they're also required to post certain bonds. When we're working with the developer coming back and the developer trying to get all the approvals in order to build houses, one of the things we always look at is what requirements do you need to comply with. Here, in the attachments that for item 5, there's a list of what we call a punch list of different things that need to be completed. The developer has completed that punch list, and I think the item before you right now is to basically allow them to now let go of the bonds, because now the improvements are done, staff has looked at them, staff has approved of them, and now asking for the council to formally approve in order to de-obligate the improvement securities. So, it's costing them money to keep those bonds alive, but they've done what they needed to do.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Anything else to add?
Yes, just to, for the public, to mention that some of the punch list items that were addressed and subsequently completed some minor repairs to the roads around the subdivision, improvements to broken utility connections and boxes, and but most importantly was the improvements for MID. MID back in 2006 had some major requirements for this subdivision, which was to redo one of their pipelines that was leaking, and they needed that repair in order to allow building of homes at this site. So the new developer that approached the city wanting to build new homes have gone ahead and completed all those improvements, and now we're like the city attorney mentioned, we're ready to release our bonds and allow more building to continue on at this subdivision.
Thank you, Martinez. This item is now open to the public. Does anybody wish to comment? If not, it is now closed to the public. Council discussion? If not, we'll entertain a motion. Does anybody wish to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I have a motion by, can you read the motion, please?
Accept the public improvements for the Country Villas number 4 subdivision and authorizes the city manager to de-obligate the improvements, securities, and commitments for said improvements.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor. Do I have a second? I will second it. May I have roll call, please?
Councilmember Baptista?
Yes.
Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Sarma?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, moving on to item number 6. This is a resolution approving a third amendment to the employment agreement between the City of Livingston and Ruben Chavez for the position of police chief, extending the current term. Mr. Ramirez?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and council and esteemed public, I'm proud to bring to you an agreement that we had with the chief to keep him around for a little longer. We basically came out with, we decided that we were going to keep him, we agreed to keep him for a couple of years, okay? And as you know, the chief has done an outstanding job. He came here back in 2012. We recruited him from the San Jose area. We're going to be looking at a succession plan in the next 60 days, because before you know it, 2 years come around, and so we want to make sure that we have a plan. So we're going to be doing that. We also want to help, develop our own personnel that we have to take on new leadership positions. So you're going to be seeing some recruitments, and we're going to be looking at making some modifications, and those are to come. But what's important is that our chief is going to stay around for a little bit longer, and is going to help us take care of those outstanding items. And so before you is a contract that stipulates 2 years, and there's a few little more minor changes that our legal counsel is going to work on.
And if I may, the resolutions actually has a 3-year, in the actual resolution, extension for 3 years. Since the posting of the agenda, I know the city manager has had conversations with the police chief on some of the refinements. I will be having some amendments to the actual resolution itself. The amendment itself, I don't think it ended up making it in the packet, but the resolution will authorize the preparation of an amendment to the chief's agreement. Few other sections that are going to be amended. First, as the city manager mentioned, the original term of which was section 2 of the agreement. Now it's going to be amended. It has been amended over the years. Currently, it expires tomorrow. The term is being proposed to be extended for an additional 2 years at this time. There are also other few changes, council, that are being proposed by the city manager and of course, in coordination with the chief. There's a section, section 3 of the agreement, talks about outside employment, or talks about the chief being employed fully for to the city of Livingston. We wanted to make sure to add at the end, unless authorized by the city manager. That's something very common. You commonly see that in the different MOUs or the personnel rules, that the city manager does have the ability to grant that exception. I know the chief has had minor kind of security positions or details in the past, and that has been approved by the city manager. We just wanted to make sure that the agreement reflects that. Also, section 10 of the original agreement is a termination of employment and severance. It is very important for, as the city manager was mentioning, even just planning for the future. One of the things, the chief is obviously a very important position to the city. The contract amendment will also be extending the termination notice that the chief would give if wanting to terminate the agreement from 30 days to 90 days. One of the compromises, given the 2-year extension, is the severance would also, currently the severance under the agreement is for 6 months. One of the changes that the chief and the city manager have discussed is lowering it to 3 months. Again, I think it's kind of with a lower term, that made sense. The last amendment would be to the professional development. Again, one thing, just cleaning up that section, would be the conferences. Usually the chief is allowed or goes to different conferences to meet certain credits that he needs. That won't change. But as far as conferences, just adding that it would be subject to the city manager's approval. Those are the edits. In summary, the resolution would also be amended if the council would, for council's consideration, to reflect that it's for a 3-year, in the recital, that it's for a 3-year amendment and some other changes to the employment agreement. The now therefore be it resolved would read as follows. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Livingston hereby approves a third amendment to the agreement for employment of police chief between the City of Livingston and Ruben Chavez, extending the employment agreement by 2 years, clarifying the section regarding outside employment, reducing severance from 6 months to 3 months, extending notice for termination of agreement by chief to 90 days, and making conferences subject to city manager approval. Again, that's the big change to the resolution to reflect all of those changes that I just went through. I know I went through them pretty quick. Council may, if you have any questions about any specific sections, I could also summarize them later if the council would like.
Okay, thank you. This item is now open to the public. Does anybody wish to comment? If not, then item is now closed to the public. Council discussion? If not, I will entertain a motion at this time.
I'd like to make a motion.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Batista. Do you have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
I have a second by Councilmember Kang. May I have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Batista.
Yes.
Councilmember Aguilar.
Yes.
Councilmember King.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia.
Yes.
Mayor Samra.
Yes.
Motion approved.
And just for the record, the motion was on the amended resolution
Yes.
as read.
Okay, moving on to item number 7. This is a resolution increasing general fund budget to appropriate $25,000 from the general fund to unappropriated fund balance for fiscal year 2018-2019 to be used for receivership services provided by the law firm Silver and Wright and to cover the cost of abatement. Mr. Ramirez?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council and esteemed public. As you've seen, we were fortunate in getting a grant to address code enforcement issues here in town. And there was a couple of hairy properties. And when I say that, they've been very challenging properties. One specific property actually had, I forget the amount of buckets of feces that were in, and there was really nothing that we could do, and it required some expertise. So in consultation with our legal counsel, we reached out to a firm, and this particular firm is called Silver and Wright. And so the term is receivership, so we look at recouping our funds, but we need to address the issue. And so we were able to go through that process, and so some of these costs are a little higher than anticipated, and so we think that we need to appropriate at least $25,000 of general fund money, and I know that our finance director Brad is here, and he might want to add a few more things to it. But in general, this is basically what we're doing, and we're basically putting a cap to their services not to exceed the 25. I don't anticipate that happening. And again, our focus was on those two specific properties, and so now they're being addressed, and we don't have those health hazards and all these other issues that came with the property. And I'll take any questions if the council has anything.
Okay, this item is now open to the public. Does anybody wish to comment from the audience? And please state your name and address for the record, and comments are limited to 3 minutes.
Catherine Shaw Rodriguez, P.O. Box 163. Could you please explain a little bit briefly as to what a receivership is, what it entails, and how, if any, the city expects to recoup any of its money?
Sure. Basically, a receivership is basically a legal process, and this legal process is a piece where they can take the piece of a real property, and what they do at that point is they have a court-appointed officer. And so this is a new terminology for myself, but it's a tool that was presented. And so maybe Sanchez, you might have a better understanding, but that's my understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. There are some properties that they're just so far gone. There's so many issues, and the owner's just not stepping up. Usually, sometimes it's an abandoned property. At that point, there's court proceedings where actually this firm specializes. This is really what they do. They go to court, and they get a court to assign a receiver, which means the receiver takes control of that property. The receiver, sometimes if there's rents, if there's whatever it is that property's getting, or it uses if it gets put up for it to be sold, the receiver controls all of that. The idea is for that property to pay for its own recovery, if you will. If the properties, a lot of times what I've seen with these properties is they end up getting sold. When they get sold, the receiver collects back the money for the receivership work, they collect the money for the enforcement work and the cleanup work. A lot of times you see it like with apartment complexes, for example, where a receiver takes it over and the receiver actually manages all of the tenants, and they receive the rent from tenants and they use that to rehab the property. But it's the court agreeing that the property's so far gone that it needs basically somebody else to administer what happens at that property.
Okay, thank you. That's a very good explanation. Okay, this is still open to the public. Does anybody else from the public wish to comment? Seeing nobody, we'll bring it to the council. And I think Councilmember Aguilar stepped out, so we won't go to the vote until he comes, but is there any discussion? So I think time to play that Jeopardy theme for a couple of minutes. No, or do we wish to just move forward on this one, Council? Oh, here he comes. Where's that theme from Jeopardy when you need one? Okay, we are now close. As I said earlier, it is closed to public. Council, any discussion? If not, then I'll entertain a motion. You know what? I do have a comment before I go to motion. You know, I never thought that, and I know that Supervisor Espinoza served for a long time, and there's always been a call for these kind of issues in the city, and I'm glad that through grants and through some general fund support that we are able to do this. There are a lot of properties out there that need attention, and I think it's good that the council is stepping up. So I'm glad that we're doing it. And so with that said, I will entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Councilmember Aguilar. Do I have a second?
I will second.
I have a second by Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. May I have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Batista? Yes. Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember Kang?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Samra?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, moving on to the item. This is the item number 9. This is a resolution approving the solar property located at the southwest corner of Olive Avenue and North Main Street. Mr. Ramirez?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We have this particular piece of property. I know there was some questions. We'll give a little bit of background, but I wanted to make sure that I prefaced this. There were some questions, especially because Mr. Torres was here. One of our residents asked about some information related to that piece of property and whether it was properly zoned, and did it go through the process. I did provide to council the proper information. And yes, so it went through the rezoning, and it was zoned for basically multifamily, and it went through the whole zoning ordinance and zone change. So having said that, now I go back and talk about this specific piece of property. Right now, the city, for that, there's no water or sewer out in that particular piece of property. It's about 2.7 acres. Because it falls below the 5-acre threshold, we can't really lease it out for the cultivation of, let's say, sweet potatoes or anything else. And so we've been maintaining it. It's costing the city. And so we decided that it made more sense that we would sell the property to, in this particular case, somebody who's interested in developing it for multi-family purposes and generate, at least some sales tax and some property tax, that is, on that piece of property. And so we do have a willing buyer. They're looking at basically developing that for multifamily purposes. The funds, the way we got that property was several years ago. Foster Farms basically wanted the city to vacate the streets to actually go into their facilities, and so in exchange they said, we will basically take that same amount of property and give it to you somewhere else. And so the city gained 2.7 acres worth. Now that, because it came from street funds, we are suggesting to their council that those funds go back into the streets, but it's also my understanding that there is some prerogative from the council if they decide to use that funds in some other way. And of course, legal can certainly share his thoughts on that. But at this point, staff is recommending that we sell that that particular piece of property. The appraisal was done on that piece of property. The cost of the actual value was slated at 150, and that is the purchase price for 150.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. This item is now open to the public. Does anybody from the public wish to comment? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Rodriguez Espinosa, Livingston. I remember when we did that exchange, and I know that it was a street that needed a lot of work, that went into Foster Farms, still does. It's all cracked and like a lot of streets in our city and in the county. $150,000 doesn't seem like a lot, but in a way, it will make a lot better sense if somebody builds a project worth maybe $1 million. If it's a few apartments or a lot more apartments, I think that any improvement to that property that needs a lot of infrastructure and can create more property taxes for the city, it's a lot better. And plus, if we need more homes, more apartments in our community, so I think that it's a wise choice. It's up to the council, and I don't know who the buyer is. Anyway, I think it makes more sense as in improvements and improved property, which I always push to people to improve their property so the city can gain some revenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Or was this under Mr. Espinoza? Was this under Supervisor or under Mr. Espinoza? Okay, that's under Mr. Espinoza. Okay, just want to make sure we get it clarified. Okay, this item is still now open to the public. Does anybody else wish to come forward? I don't see anybody coming forward. This item is now closed to the public. Council discussion? Anybody? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I just wanted to say a couple comments.
I'm sorry?
I'm going to say a few things.
Oh, take all your time, please.
Same thing with this situation. I mean, we were to sell property. I know it's slated for roads and streets. However, like I said, one of our priorities is building a new station. And, we could use that money, not towards the station, but maybe around the station to, driveways.
For the streets.
Streets around it. And so it'll be important that money is allocated towards, if we were to sell that, if the council agrees towards that.
Yeah, as long as it goes to streets, it's offsetting costs somewhere else anyway, so I don't think it matters that much. So, okay, any further comments, council? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Batista. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
A second by Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. May I have roll call, please? It is a resolution.
Roll call. Councilmember Baptista? Yes. Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember Kane?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Samra?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, item number 10, just to let everybody know, this item is permanently tabled. It will not be coming back. So now we'll move on to item number 11. This is the ordinance amending the Livingston Municipal Code revising Title II, Boards and Commissions, Chapter 2, Planning Commission, Section 222, Membership and Terms of the Office to change the membership of the Planning Commission to allow an additional alternate member. And Mr. Ramirez, your name's on it. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, your name is on it. I had the wrong paper open.
It's no problem. As you might recall, at the last council meeting, there was quite a bit of discussion about well, let me go for a little further back. We've been having a little bit of trouble getting quorum, and we value, we value all of those individuals who have served on our planning commission. And so, in order to help alleviate some of those issues related to, and when I say there's no quorum, I mean, there's valid reasons why they can't make the meetings. It's not like they're not just showing up. It could be family issues, they might be ill, or they might be work related. So what we wanted to do was find a way to bring a little more certainty to our developer friends and to, residents who are having different home improvements, et cetera. So we would like to introduce another alternate, so you at least have two alternates. So that way, if something was to happen, then you'll have coverage. And so it makes sense. And at this point, council, it's your prerogative whether or not you would like to do that, take our recommendation. But this would certainly help out with meeting quorum and having, since we only meet once a month, it's a long time for projects to be, waiting out there for that long.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. This item is now open to the public. Anybody? Oh, I see Mr. Wallace coming forward.
Mayor, Council, Robert Wallace, 1697 Spruce Court. One question, when was the last time there was not a quorum for the Planning Commission?
Staff mentioned, well, for instance, you might recall that we've had some special meetings because and they had to be changed from regular agendized dates for other dates. That's my understanding. That's what staff has communicated to me. And
The two special meetings were due to the person's application that wasn't ready, though, to be processed by the Planning Commission. So my question is, when was the last meeting that did not have a quorum? Because I want to reflect as the vice chair of the Planning Commission, I don't want it reflecting that for the last 4 years, the current Planning Commission has never not had a quorum. So this has to be a quorum that wasn't met in over 5 or 6 years.
well, that's what staff communicated, and I also provided council with the attendance sheets of all planning commissioners, and so there's a little reflection in there. But again, I think you would agree that having at least an additional alternate would help alleviate some of, having to find dates to actually have the planning commission meetings.
Well, I don't have a problem with the second alternate. It was just, I don't like the inference that people maybe from reading how it was put out, that this current planning commission was at fault, and that's what brought this up. I wanted on the record that for the last 4 years, at least, there has never not been a quorum. And that was my main concern.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, sir. This is still open to the public. Anybody else? If not, item is now closed to the public. Council discussion? Any discussion? If not, does anybody wish to make a motion?
I move to approve.
I have a motion by, I'm sorry, it is an ordinance, so we'll have to have a second reading, as you know. So can you go ahead and read the ordinance, please? I should have pointed that out. I'll just read the title where,
Okay, this is regarding the ordinance amending Livingston Municipal Code by revising Title II, Boards and Commissions, Chapter 2, Planning Commission, Section 2-2-2, Membership and Terms of Office, to change the membership of the Planning Commission to allow an additional alternate member.
I have a motion by Councilmember Aguilar. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. May I have roll call, please?
Okay. Roll call. Councilmember Batista? Yes. Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember Kang?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Samra?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. And just a reminder, we will be having a special meeting this Thursday at 5:30. Please join us if you can, but it is all closed session items. And without any further discussion, council? If not, we are in adjournment.